Imagine you're walking through a dense forest. 50,000 years ago, the morning air is cool, birds call from the treetops, and your hands are full of berries your family will eat tonight. You've drifted only a little farther than usual. One more tree, perhaps one more hill. Then you turn around. Silence answers. The thin column of smoke that guided you home is gone. Every direction looks exactly the same. And the people who kept you alive have vanished without a trace. Today, you'd pull out your phone, open a map, or call for help. Back then, none of that existed. No roads, no signs, no rescue teams. Only endless wilderness, where every wrong step carried you farther from safety, somewhere beyond the trees. A pack of wolves has already caught your scent. A cave lion is beginning to stir before long. The sun will disappear, dragging freezing darkness across the landscape, long before you can build shelter. So what did ancient humans actually do? When they got lost, how did they survive? Without maps, compasses, or even knowing which way was north, the answer isn't just a forgotten survival story. It may reveal how evolution transformed the human brain into one of the greatest navigation tools the natural world has ever produced. For a few frozen seconds, you don't move at all. Perhaps they're just beyond the next hill. Maybe you wandered farther than you realized. You call out, waiting for familiar voices to answer. Nothing. Only the wind whispering through the trees. Suddenly, your heart begins pounding against your chest. Each breath grows quicker, as every crack of a branch sounds like danger, and every shadow seems ready to come alive. Without realizing it, your brain has already switched into survival mode. Long before ancient humans understood stress or adrenaline, evolution had trained their bodies to react instantly whenever life was at risk. Unfortunately, panic isn't built to help you find your way home. It often drives you farther from it. Modern studies show that frightened people make poorer decisions, overlook obvious landmarks, and even lose their natural sense of direction. Under intense stress, the brain prioritizes escaping immediate danger instead of solving complex problems. An ancient human who ran blindly through unfamiliar forest wasn't improving their chances of survival. They were wasting precious energy while drifting even farther away from the tribe. Generations of experienced hunter-gatherers learned this lesson long before science could explain it. Their first battle was never against the wilderness surrounding them. It was against the panic inside their own minds. Rather than sprinting into the unknown, the wisest response was often to become perfectly still. Listen, breathe, search for the tiny clues. Fear had hidden only moments before. A distant bird call, a freshly broken branch, or the faint smell of campfire smoke drifting on the wind. Small details like these could mean the difference between finding home or disappearing forever. Yet even after your heartbeat begins to slow, one terrifying question still remains. If every tree looks exactly the same, how do you know which way to walk? Fortunately, ancient humans weren't wandering blindly through the wilderness. What looks confusing to us would have felt familiar to them. The landscape wasn't an endless maze. It was filled with meaningful signs, waiting to be recognized. Rather than relying on street names or GPS directions, they built incredibly detailed mental maps. Every unusual rock, twisted tree, steep hillside, and winding river became a permanent reference point, stored inside the mind. Distance wasn't measured in kilometers. A journey was recalled as a chain of familiar places linked together through experience. The sun usually served as the first guide. If you remembered where it had risen that morning, you already had a rough sense of direction. Mountains never wandered. Rivers almost always led somewhere important. Even the wind carried valuable clues. The faint smell of smoke drifting through the trees might signal your own camp or reveal another group living in the same valley. Memory, however, remained the greatest survival tool of all. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies have discovered that experienced trackers can navigate enormous landscapes with astonishing accuracy. Instead of memorizing locations alone, they attach stories to every place: a fallen tree, where honey was found, a rocky cliff, where lions once hunted, or a stream that disappeared each summer. Every experience added another layer to a living map, carried entirely inside the brain. Even with all that knowledge, nature still had one cruel trick left. Modern experiments reveal that once people lose the sun, stars, or distant reference points, they slowly begin walking in circles without realizing it. They feel certain they're moving forward, even while drifting back toward where they started. Imagine wasting hours doing exactly that, while the sun sinks lower with every step. Because once darkness arrives, getting lost is no longer just a navigation problem. It becomes a fight to stay alive. As the afternoon slowly fades, the forest begins to change, not because the trees have moved, everything else has. Slowly, the chorus of birds that filled the morning falls silent. Long shadows creep across the ground, while the warm sun sunlight that once revealed familiar landmarks disappears behind distant hills. Suddenly, a terrifying realization hits you. You aren't racing against hunger anymore. You're racing against sunset. For ancient humans, the arrival of night transformed the entire world. During daylight, danger could usually be seen from a distance. After sunset, the balance shifted, and predators gained the advantage. Human eyes simply weren't built for darkness, compared with many hunters of the ancient world. Our night vision is remarkably poor. We struggle to recognize movement, judge distance, and identify shapes hidden among the trees. A cave lion, a leopard, or a pack of wolves faced no such limitation. As daylight vanished, humans became the vulnerable ones. That is why hunter-gatherer groups carefully plan their journeys. Reaching camp before nightfall meant more than comfort. Fire, familiar faces, and the safety of a group dramatically increased the odds of surviving until morning. Alone, you have none of those advantages. Meanwhile, every snap of a branch sends your pulse racing, while the faint rustle of leaves feels as though unseen eyes are following your every step. Fear grows stronger because the human brain instinctively fills hidden spaces with imagined threats. Modern psychologists understand why, when our surroundings become difficult to see. The brain assumes the worst. It's an ancient survival mechanism. Better to mistake the wind for a predator than mistake a predator for the wind. Now you face an impossible choice. Do you keep walking through unfamiliar terrain, risking a fall, an injury, or wandering even farther from home? Or do you stop, build the best shelter you can, and hope nothing dangerous discovers you before sunrise? Because once night finally falls, you're no longer the only one searching. Somewhere beyond the darkness, something has already caught your scent. Morning finally arrives. Against the odds, you survive the night. That doesn't mean you're safe. If anything, the real danger is only beginning. Although daylight has returned, the forest now knows you're there. Your scent has drifted through the trees, every footprint has pressed into the soil, and broken branches quietly mark the path you've taken. You may believe you're searching for your tribe, but something else could already be tracking you. Ancient humans shared their world with powerful hunters, whose senses far surpassed our own. Wolves could follow scent trails across astonishing distances. Hyenas possessed some of the strongest jaws ever evolved, and eagerly investigated anything unusual. Big cats rarely wasted energy, chasing every animal they encountered. Instead, they watched patiently, waiting for the easiest opportunity to appear for those predators. An isolated human was exactly that. Most hunters avoided dangerous fights, because even a small injury could mean starvation. They preferred prey that looked exhausted, distracted, or alone. That's why becoming separated from your group was one of the most dangerous situations an ancient human could face. A tribe offered dozens of watchful eyes, warning voices, and sharpened spears ready to drive away any threat alone. You've lost every one of those advantages. Fortunately, our ancestors weren't defenseless. They learned to appear larger and more dangerous than they really were, standing tall, shouting loudly, waving burning branches, or gripping long wooden spears. Could persuade many predators that attacking simply wasn't worth the risk. Many animals don't ask, "Can I kill this?" They ask something even more important. "Will I get hurt trying?" Confidence alone, however, couldn't solve your greatest problem. Now your throat feels painfully dry, your legs grow weaker with every step, and each breath demands more energy than the last. Because without water, your body has already begun counting down the hours. Hunger feels terrifying, but it isn't your greatest enemy. Water is. A healthy person can survive for weeks without food, yet only a few days without enough water under a blazing sun. After hours of crossing rugged terrain, that window becomes even smaller. Your mouth dries out, your thoughts lose their sharpness, and every decision becomes harder to make. The one thing your body needs most is suddenly the hardest thing to find. Ancient humans never searched for fresh water by guessing. Instead, they learned to read the landscape like a living map, a ribbon of lush green trees often revealed a nearby stream. Valleys collected rainwater long after storms had passed. Fresh animal tracks frequently pointed toward rivers, especially at dawn and dusk when herds gathered to drink. Even birds offered valuable clues. Species that relied on daily water often flew along predictable routes, tracing invisible pathways across the sky. Yet every clue carried a hidden danger. If wildlife was gathering at a river, hunters were probably nearby as well. Waterholes ranked among the busiest places in the ancient world. Deer, wild horses, cattle, wolves, lions, and humans all depended on the same life-giving resource. A peaceful stream could save your life, or place you within reach of a predator, waiting patiently for its next opportunity. Cautiously, ancient humans approached these places with patience rather than haste. They listened before stepping into the open, searched the mud for fresh tracks and watch the behavior of birds and nearby animals. Sometimes, the safest drinking place wasn't the closest one. It was the one no one else had discovered. Then, just as you begin believing, you've solved your greatest problem. Something catches your eye. A thin column of smoke rises above the trees. Finally, another human? Or perhaps your next danger has only just begun. At first, the thumb of smoke feels like a miracle. It means there's fire, and where there's fire, there are people. Hope surges through you, pushing fear into the background. If another camp lies nearby, its people might offer food, fresh water, or even help guide you back to your own community long before cities, countries, or written laws existed. However, ancient humans couldn't afford to trust strangers without hesitation. Small clans competed for the same rivers, hunting grounds, and shelters an unfamiliar face. Wasn't automatically an enemy, but it wasn't automatically a friend either. Everything depended on the circumstances. When food was plentiful and neighboring communities had met peacefully before, they sometimes exchanged knowledge, traded valuable tools, or arranged marriages between families. These relationships spread new ideas, strengthened alliances, and made survival in a dangerous world far more likely. During difficult seasons, though, those same encounters became far more uncertain. A starving community might see a lone traveler as a threat rather than a guest. You weren't simply another mouth to feed. You also carried knowledge of another camp's location. In a world where resources were limited, information could be just as valuable and just as dangerous as food. That is why first contact was usually careful and deliberate, carefully watching from a distance. People studied every movement before revealing themselves. Were your hands empty? Were you carrying a spear? Did you walk with confidence? Or stagger from exhaustion? Anthropologists believe cooperation between different groups helped modern humans spread across the world. Yet cooperation only succeeded when trust became stronger than fear. Now the smoke in the distance forces one final decision. If it doesn't belong to your own people, walking toward it could save your life or end it, because sometimes the safest path home wasn't through another camp. It was finding the trail you had lost in the first place. Finding your way home was never the hardest part of getting lost. The real challenge was remembering exactly how to return. Instead of wandering through random wilderness, ancient humans spent years learning every valley, rocky cliff, watering hole, and hunting trail surrounding their home. Children followed older family members along the same routes until the landscape itself became permanently etched into memory. Home wasn't identified by signs. It was recognized through experience. Picture the landmarks. That guided every journey. A strangely shaped hill rising above the trees. A massive fallen trunk blocking the path. A river bending sharply toward the east. Or a cave where dangerous predators had once been seen together. These familiar features formed an incredibly detailed mental map. One far richer than most people rely on today. Modern researchers studying hunter-gatherer societies have discovered that experienced trackers can navigate enormous territories. With remarkable precision, they don't simply observe the land. They understand its story. A broken branch is more than broken wood. Fresh footprints reveal who passed by, how long ago they traveled, and even whether they walked calmly or fled in panic. That ability wasn't magic, it was survival. Each successful journey strengthened that internal map, while every mistake became a lesson shared with the next generation. Over thousands of generations, something extraordinary happened. Natural selection rewarded the people who remembered landscapes, recognized patterns, and solved navigation problems under pressure. Those who found their way back were more likely to survive, raise families, and pass those abilities to their children. In other words, getting lost didn't simply test ancient humans, it quietly shaped the remarkable brain you still carry today. Imagine you survived. After days of uncertainty, you finally found your tribe again. The fire was still burning. Familiar voices echoed through the camp, and for the first time since getting lost, you were no longer alone. Relief washes over you. Yet the story doesn't truly end there. Over thousands of generations, every ancient human who successfully returned home passed on something far more valuable than survival. They handed down minds capable of remembering landscapes, recognizing patterns, staying calm under pressure, and solving problems that meant the difference between life and death. Today, those same abilities still live inside you. That's why your brain naturally builds mental maps of unfamiliar places, and why certain landmarks remain unforgettable long after street names disappear from memory. Deep within your mind are instincts shaped by ancestors who simply couldn't afford to stay lost. So the next time you take a wrong turn, remember this. For ancient humans, getting lost wasn't an inconvenience. It was one of evolution's greatest tests. And the reason you're here today is because someone, thousands of generations ago, found their way home.